Hello and welcome to another edition of A Priest Abroad. I'm not entirely abroad, I'm sat at my desk. And I've got all sorts of techie things that are happening in my life at the moment that are apropos nothing, but I thought I might speak about them before I get round to the main topic of light and biorhythms and our circadian rhythm. I'm shooting not from my normal iPhone or from my GoPro. I'm actually shooting from something I found in my knicker drawer. It was an old Leica camera, and I didn't realise you could shoot video on them. But I think it's got limited time when you've got a window of opportunity to speak on these things, otherwise it just shuts down. I've just wasted about 15 minutes talking and that blessed thing all shut down, so I just thought, well, let's just try again. So that's the first techie bit of news I have for you. I'm shooting from a Leica. Which one is it? It's I can't see from here. Doesn't really say. Anyway, it's a Leica that does a bit of video. And last time I had it out was actually in Rome. I took it out there and shot a lot of the inside of the Vatican. It was great fun. Never used it since. Been stuffed there with my socks in my drawer. The other bit of excitement this week is I bought this thing here. Now that thing there is a very old thing as well, a bit like the Leica and a bit like me. It's an Apple HD Cinema monitor. It cost me 50 quid. Problem is getting the darn thing to work with a modern MacBook, because all the connections are odd. So anyway, I spent quite a bit just getting the right adapters and I've got the thing working. It took me all week to do it. I'm not that technical. But it's great, you see, because it means I can now sort of sit at my desk because I'm writing a novel. I'm writing a novel. And I also can edit my YouTube videos now, you see, at the desk. Whereas previously I'd be very idle and just sit on the sofa, feet up, in a dressing gown, cup of tea, on my laptop. And it doesn't feel very workmanlike. And you just tend to do stuff when you feel like doing it. Now this is going to bring me around full circle to where I really want to talk to you today. And that is about one's energy levels. About getting up in the morning and about sleeping. Well, I'm a notorious bad sleeper. I never get a straight 8. I obsess about it. I used to have, do you remember those what were they called? Were they called Fitbits? What? I can't remember what they were called. Anyway, they were a watch that they could tell you how much sleep you had. And every morning I would go straight down, because there's an app on your phone that speaks to it, to find out exactly how restless I was, whether I was in deep sleep, light sleep, how many hours sleep I got. One got quite sort of obsessed about it, and I never really got a straight 8, and I still don't really get much of a straight 8, but what I want to talk about today is how to get a straight 8. And I want to talk about the effect that sunlight has upon one's biorhythms, or one might call the circadian. I prefer to use the Latin, circadian, not circadian, circadian rhythms, where one gets a body reset when one allows the light of the sun to hit the back of the retina. Now the reason I've done all of this is because somebody came to my cottage once and said, you know, it's jolly dark in here, and it is. And they suggested you need to get out and get some lux, otherwise you're always going to feel groggy and never have any energy, and you won't be very productive. And so what I did was, I basically took their advice, got up in the morning, would make a cup of tea, still in my dressing gown, repair to a deck chair in the back garden, whereupon I would drink my tea, I would say my prayers, and listen to birdsong. What's not to like? And I did this for a whole week, and it's based on the fact that when you're in tandem with your body rhythms, and when you're in tandem with the universe, which wakes up at a certain time, like the birds that were singing, in order to do that you have to have this light, which is measured in lux, hit the back of one's retina. And I wasn't doing this, and so therefore I was feeling unproductive, lacking energy, and not getting to sleep at the right time, nor staying asleep. So I tried this experiment. I decided to do it for a week. Well, I've been doing it for 2 weeks now, and what I did was, as I say, I would repair to the garden first thing, and I would get my lux. Now, outside, you can get, on a cloudy day, 1,000 lux. Lux is the measurement of light. If the sun is particularly bright, you'll get 1,500 lux hitting the back of your retina. Now, this has the effect of resetting your circadian rhythm. So you may be completely out of sync, but if you just do that on day one, you'll get a body reset. Marvellous. And what I noticed was, almost immediately, was if I did get my morning lux, and we're talking about just the mornings here, I found that I would be ready for bed at a reasonable time. Now, a reasonable time for you might be 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Well, for me it's anything between 11 and 12. And I was getting to bed at those times. And I thought, well, this is interesting, isn't it? But more importantly, it wasn't so much that I went to bed at those times, it was the fact that I felt ready to go to bed. Because there's one thing knowing what time you should go to bed, and there's another thing actually feeling tired enough to think you're going to go to sleep. So this was a revelation, and it actually worked. And so therefore one has a mental, if you like, a brain reset. When that lux hits the back of your retina, your circadian rhythm is reset, and you're in sync. Then, you see, your body is in sync. Not only with the little birdies, but the whole of the universe, because the universe is waking up and saying, this is the time when you need to be awake, this is when you need to be productive, this is when you need to get things done. And then when the other end of the day, when melatonin, which is the chemical that is produced in the body that tells you it's time to go to sleep, is when there is a reduction of lux. Your melatonin increases and you feel sleepy. Now, of course, in the modern world, I speak on one of my videos, the one on artificial intelligence, about the agrarian, the industrial revolution and the digital revolution, which means a lot of us aren't getting our lux. And it's no wonder everyone is depressed, everyone is ill, and everyone is staying up very late at night, and they're not actually in rhythm, dare I say, with the universe or God. And this needs to be sorted out. And as I say, the way you do it is quite simple. It's not rocket science. You don't have to do what I did this morning and do 50 press-ups as soon as you get up. Well, it was probably more like 10 actually. It felt like 50. You don't have to do any of that. You could just stand on your doorstep, even if it was just for 2 minutes, and get the lux hitting your retina, which is enough just to spark that circadian rhythm. They do say you should try and get 2 hours. So that's something that needs to be thought about. Now you may say, well, I work in an office, I can't stand outside for 2 hours. Well, what they say is, go and walk to work if you can. Get off the bus a bit earlier and take a bit of a walk, be outside. Because that's the difference between getting just 100 lux in an office and 1,000 lux outside on a cloudy day. So try and get as much lux as you can. If you don't get your 2 hours in, maybe when it's lunch break or fag break, go outside. Well, you probably do have to go outside with all this political correctness now if you want a fag, if you have a fag at all. And but if you want to go for lunch, go and sit on a park bench if that is possible, if the smog doesn't kill you first. But get out into the light. This will give yourself a circadian reset, a body reset. Now, of course, that's okay for the mind, but what about the body? Well, they say, as part of this wonderful reset, that you mustn't eat 3 hours before you go to bed. Well, that's difficult for some people because you get rather peckish, don't you? And nobody wants to go to bed on an empty stomach. But don't raid the fridge. Try and keep it down to a minimum, because what they say is that your body needs to be told to go to sleep too. So it's okay having that melatonin telling your brain it's tired and go to bed. But unless you tell your body to go to bed, it will continue to work and make sleep more difficult. For example, you know, they say 3 hours because if you don't eat for 3 hours, the body then starts to shut down and say, right, my work is done. I've got no more calories to consume. I've got no more digestion to operate. I can now spend the next 8 hours rejuvenating Father John's body. And by golly, it needs it. So, think on. So you've got mind and body in this reset. These are simple things to do, aren't they? Think about it. Standing on your doorstep, having a cup of tea in the morning, having a nice lunch in the park, walking to work, walking the dog, and just trying not to stuff your cake hole 3 hours before bedtime. It's not rocket science. Well, it is science, actually. And this is all supposed to be very good, and it ties in with what a lot of the saints say. I wouldn't call the Dalai Lama a saint. I remember reading something of his many years ago when he said one of the secrets of a long life and a healthy life was going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time. Now, of course, I don't trust him anymore, because not long ago he was in the news for having a young boy sitting on his lap, and he asked him to suck his tongue. Not sure what sort of Tibetan spiritual practice that is, but I think if the Pope were to do it, I think some of us would have something to say. But he's not the only one, because I have the words of St. John Henry Newman here, and he said a similar thing. And this is it's from A Short Road to Perfection, and somebody asked him what he had to do to become a saint. And he says, if you ask me what you ought to do in order to be perfect, I say first, do not lie in bed. Beyond the due time of rising, give your first thoughts to God, make a good visit to the Blessed Sacrament, say the Angelus devoutly, eat and drink to God's glory, say the Rosary well, be recollected, keep out bad thoughts, make your evening meditation well, examine yourself daily, go to bed in good time, and you're already perfect. Not my words, the words of a saint. So, it's there. It's there for our admonition. Now, as I say, I've been doing it. It seems to work. I'm getting my lux. I'm feeling tired at night, exhausted sometimes, ready to go to bed. 10:30. Off I go, read my little book, lights out, that's it. So it does work, so I recommend it to you. If you have problems sleeping, do let me know in the comments. Or even what it is to eat at night or not to eat at night, or why do we snack. If you've got any observations of what I had to say, it'd be frightfully interesting to hear them. So do like, subscribe, and all the other good things. I hope that you're all well. And that's really all I have to say. I'm going to do another video actually on diet and how gut health affects one's mood and one's mental hygiene. But I'm going to save that for my next video. This was just I wanted to give you a short burst of what's going on in my odd life. And the other lovely bit of interesting news is, if you remember my video, it's in the back catalogue, I think it was called A Bimble Round Num Monkton or something of such, which is me walking about my village. You'll remember that I went to the duck pond, and on the duck pond was a very lonely goose, gander, and they found a companion for him, and they got beautifully wed. And not only that, we noticed her sitting down for long periods of time. We thought, my goodness, has she laid some eggs? And this is literally within days of the gander being introduced to her. Well, the good news is she did have eggs, and they have hatched, and I'm going to give you some footage, a flashback to that previous video, and a little snippet of the wonderful goslings. So, it's been great to see you. Hopefully I'll see you on my next video. God bless, take care, cheerio.
Well, I'm at the village pond, and it's twice as big as it was. We had a bit of a drought last year, and it dried up. It was like the Gobi Desert. But now, it is twice the size. Some diggers came. But also, there's been some other changes. You might notice that there are 2 geese. There used to be a solitary gander, and what happened was, somebody in their kindness provided a second geese as a companion. I was wandering along one day and I noticed this dog crate, and I thought, what on earth is going on by the pond? And it was only afterwards, when I saw the day after, that there was another goose, that somebody had provided a partner for the gander. And I think they must be married, because they sort of built a nest under one of the willow trees. And I think that's wonderful, because that poor goose for many years used to labour in this world, this vale of tears, all on its own. And you'd see it on the pond. And when the mallards used to go off to mate, the poor little goose was all left on its own. And in winter sometimes they would actually disappear altogether, the mallards. And throughout winter there was just this poor, solitary, lonely gander. So I'm absolutely thrilled that the gander is now sacramentally united with a mate. And may they both increase and prosper.